Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Here on this podcast, we talk about LGBTQ plus topics, about sexuality, about gender, about culture, different types of things. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about formal events, a little bit about clothing. If you're in maybe like Vegas or LA or even like San Diego areas, I'm not too sure about San Francisco, New York, just because I'm not too up to date because I'm over in Southern California, but I would assume that this theme is probably coming up in other places too. So something I've been noticing that is pretty cool to see, things like, queer proms, things like, formal events, where, it's like safe spaces that are designed to maybe not exclude people based on, not really following like societal sexual norms or societal gender norms, especially when it comes to like clothing styles and presentation and preferences and things like that. So one thing I've been noticing is, there are some events popping up. I first noticed it with LA Night Waves, and then I started noticing like some queer prom related events, and then some other gala type of events, and some kind of like events where people go and it's kind of more than just like a casual like day drink brunch situation, and it's kind of like a little more like dressed up nightlife kind of thing. I don't know if I've been specifically to any. I recall probably, I don't remember when, probably New Year's Eve of 2021, I think it was. A friend of mine had, we had like a New Year's Eve, and they kind of sent out like a message to everybody like, hey, let's like dress up a little bit, like make it a little bit nicer than just like the normal clothes we usually wear. And so it wasn't really like a dressy event. Like we were kind of playing like games and drinking, and I think there was some food there, but it was kind of more like a little bit of a dressed up event, a little bit, just a little bit. I remember wearing like chinos and a button down and like a black kind of like jacket and like sneakers, a belt. I remember one of my friends commenting like, oh, like you're wearing a belt, like, and one of my other friends was kind of like, oh, you found something to wear that's like nice, because I remember being like in the group chat and just being like, I don't really know if I like have anything that's like that nice, but I'll just like see what I have to wear. So yeah, it was interesting. It was fun, but there were other formal events. I remember a friend inviting me, saying like, hey, if you want to join, and I was kind of like, I don't know about formal events. For some of us, it can be a little bit stressful. It's kind of something that it kind of does bring a lot more awareness to my, just kind of like my own preferences of style. Like I remember when I went to, my friend's, a family friend's funeral and or memorial service, and just even trying to choose something to wear, because I was coming from San Diego up to LA, so I didn't even give myself a lot of options of clothing, and I kind of brought like a couple things with me, and that was it. So I knew I wasn't going to buy something new, and then I was like, well, I only really have a couple of these options with me. And I think one of the options, I thought I had brought one pair of fitted black jeans, which I didn't bring, and I ended up wearing another pair of jeans, and just kind of like they weren't blue jeans, they were like dark brown jeans, and then like a button up, and I have like hiking shoes. Those are just my normal shoes, and that's kind of just like what I wore. And I saw other friends, they were kind of there with like suits on and things, like suits and a tie. It happened also at like another wedding. I was kind of wearing the same kind of style, like chinos, sneakers, a short sleeve button up, like things like that. Like that's usually my go-to. I don't tend to get way more formal than that, but it's mostly because I don't really have anywhere to wear formal stuff to, and I don't really like the attention because I'm usually dressed in like, shorts and a t-shirt. I literally almost always look like I could have been going to the gym or the beach or coming from the gym or the beach. Like gym is like, okay, I really wasn't trying and I was just putting on like clean clothes and I just want to be comfy. And then my other usual style is like, okay, I was at least putting in some effort to consider, looking a little bit more cleaned up, but, a little bit stylish, but still very casual. I have some nice printed shirts and like things like that, but I'm not like always super dressed up. I don't find it very comfortable, and then also, because I don't dress up a lot, whenever I do, people kind of like make comments or like pay attention to it more, and even if the comments are nice, sometimes I'm like, I just don't really want any attention about this. It makes me a little bit like, okay, like it's like put the spotlight somewhere else. Like I'm not really trying to like draw attention to myself. So and I just mention all that because I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one that's like okay, like, like what the heck, but yeah, I mean, I am liking, seeing a lot of different events popping up. I think for people who are really into that kind of thing, it really gives a cool opportunity for people to be able to go to those events or events that they maybe have felt maybe excluded from, or that that your dress code isn't going to match what is expected. Like a lot of us, if we go to like a typical like city club, for example, there's a dress code. And, a lot of times they're not like prejudiced sometimes, but if you're not a female wearing a dress or a male wearing like a, like whatever the males are supposed to wear, it kind of throws the door people off and they don't really know how to like react sometimes. And you can easily just be like not allowed to come in just because of your style of clothing. I mean, I've mentioned this before when I went to a club at one of my friend's birthdays, and I was wearing shorts and a button down, and my friend whose birthday it was, she was also wearing shorts and like a blouse, but her shorts were like little leather booty shorts, and my shorts were like board short cargo shorts. And she was allowed in, and I'm a female, I wasn't allowed in. So it was kind of like they say no shorts, but at the same time it's like, well, she's wearing shorts, so that's not really what they meant. It wasn't really no shorts. It was more so, you can't come in looking masculine presenting with shorts on. You have to be dressed a certain way. And so luckily I had chinos in my car, and I've told the story before. I went back to the car, changed into my chinos, went back to the door, they let me in. It was like, if you're going to be on the more mask presenting side, you have to dress that way. If you're going to be on the more femme presenting side, you have to dress that way. And it's still not even guaranteed that they're going to let you in the door. Once you get in the door, it's like, which bathroom can you use, like whatever. Like it's not a very clear cut thing, And if you don't know the environment, if you don't know like the event, if you don't know the city, like I even remember I was just remembering this, going to like a friend's wedding in Vegas, probably like, let's say 2018, 2017, sometime around then. And, I was I guess technically the maid of honor, and, I didn't really dress up. I was like, I don't know. Like I did a little bit. Everyone was wearing blue, so I had like whatever kind of skirt I was wearing. I think it was like a blue jean kind of skirt, and I had these like slip-on kind of like Skechers sneakers with a cool design on them, and just kind of like a blouse that was blue, and like a tank top kind of blue blouse. It was basically just like a tank top that was kind of like a silky material. And it felt like I was wearing a jersey, basically. Like it wasn't like super formal, but it wasn't like not dressed up. And I wasn't comfortable in it anyways, but it's like whatever. And then we went to the club that night, and I remember asking, like, I called the club from the hotel, and I was like, what's the dress code? And they're like, yeah, you need to be dressed in, I can't remember what they said, because I was looking on the website, and they did have a dress code. And then I called and I asked about it, and they kind of mentioned something that I don't remember. And I remember wearing the same kind of like silky, I washed the tank top, and I wore that again. It was kind of like silky material, so I washed it by hand and just hung it out to dry. And I wore that with shorts. Basically, I was wearing just like shorts that matched, but they were really they were fitted, and they were they kind of matched. And my shoes were, I think, sneakers or something, so like the top was kind of nice, but then everything else was just kind of like casual, because I was comfortable that way. And then I went in early, because, I was like, well, I don't have anything else to do. So I went into the club early just to kind of like chill around and like have a drink. I think I got there like an hour early. And so, I was like, well, I'll just see if they even just like let me in. And so I was there early. It was whatever club is at the Golden Nugget. Like there was like a club, I guess a rooftop club thing. And yeah, so I remember going, and it was fine, and nobody said anything. They just let me in. But also it's a very touristy area, and so I'm pretty sure they come across plenty of people that just aren't really like fully like decked out and like dressed up formally for events. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see queer formal events coming up more often, and at least lately where I live, they've been popping up a little more on my radar. And so maybe this is something very common that I just am not aware of, or maybe it's something new that's starting to appear, and it's kind of a nice change to think about. Okay, there might be spaces where I can go, where I can dress a little more formally, and I won't be like feeling like a weirdo, or like feeling like trapped between like societal expectations and just like my own comfort level. And you never want to walk in somewhere being like offensive, but then it's like you also don't want to like not you don't want to be uncomfortable. And it's not even like, it's kind of, there is like a bit of a dysphoria there, and it's something that's maybe hard to explain to people who don't have it. But the easiest way that I can explain like this dysphoria experience is like, for somebody who might not want to wear certain types of clothing because it makes them feel a certain type of way, if they think about how they would feel putting that on and just walking out, whether it's like a guy putting on a dress, or a woman putting on a tie, or you know, somebody cutting their hair like really short, or somebody growing their hair out like long, and you know, just stuff like that, where people are like, you know, for some people there's like a little bit of like, you can maybe balance it or do something in the middle, and then everyone, I think, kind of has something that wouldn't be comfortable for them personally to wear, and you know, just thinking about having to be in an event, and then you go through the effort to like put that on, and then somebody doesn't even let you in, or like they let you in, and then it's like a weird situation coming up because everybody knows that you're like different from what's expected, and then it's like, even if nothing really happens, you're still kind of like self-conscious about it. Like even for like women who don't maybe wear a lot of like revealing clothing, or like heels, or you know, things like that, you know, and then if they start putting those things on, they might feel a little weird. Or people who don't really wear makeup, and then they start wearing makeup, or whatever it may be. It could be anything like that. And it doesn't really have to be even really based on your gender, that you were born as. Like, it can be anything. Like, almost anything can create dysphoria. It's just, you kind of naturally know usually how you feel more comfortable, and it can still change day to day. It doesn't have to be a consistent thing, but it's kind of more to think about if there are events where you can actually go, because I've never really had to think much about it, because usually I avoid those events anyways. The only times they really come up is if it's like a wedding, and then otherwise it's like, well, it's not like there's a wedding every day, so I'm not usually dealing with that kind of stuff. But you know, you just kind of deal with it as it comes. And you know, I think the people around me kind of understand how consistent I am with how I dress. I mean, I think they know kind of my style. Like, they're not gonna be like, oh, like, you're wearing this. Like, they kind of know how I dress anyways, and so I noticed that. But yeah, it's just something to think about, because you know, it's something for me that I haven't really had to think about, because I just like actively avoid that type of event, because there's never been one where I was comfortable just going to it, so I just don't go to those types of places. Or yeah, I don't usually go to formal places because I usually would feel out of place, so I just don't even bother. But if the options are like available now, that's kind of an interesting thing, because you know, I've never had to think about, you know, a formal option that I might potentially be comfortable at, because there are more people kind of like me, that kind of just based on their nature, they're breaking the rules of like societal norms. And so yeah, it's kind of a lot to think on, and we'll see if anything comes of it as far as like activity choices and things like that. We'll see if I end up, you know, going to any of them. I'm slightly interested, but also kind of like would rather not. But I've got a slight interest, but we'll see. But yeah, that's it for now, and thanks for listening.